Mayor's Night Out, 3rd District. Welcome to the Sportsplex, by the way, for those of you that it's your first time here. Hope you get a chance after Mayor's Night's over to go around and ingratiate yourself to Hammond's newest jewel. So, as we do every time we have Mayor's Night Out, we start off with the host council person. So let's give a warm welcome to 3rd District Councilman Anthony Higgs. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you all for coming out. I am most graciously excited about the sports complex. One of the items that's been displayed in my tenure of being councilman. Of course, any new projects in economic development for the city of Hammond is great, so we applaud and thank you, Mayor, for your efforts. Can you give him a round of applause, please? Of course, as always, I've always been available and willing to do what's necessary to move the city of Hammond forward as well as my district. So if there's anything you need in my tenure of being councilman, feel free to reach out to me as councilman of the 3rd District of the city of Hammond. God bless you all, and I hope you have a nice evening.
Thanks, Councilman. Okay, let's go ahead and, where's Donna? We've got a big crowd. I want to thank everybody for coming out. First off, this is a really, really big crowd. The way Mayor's Night works, I know we've done this probably 150 times since I've been mayor, but we have questions that we ask you to write. Like questions, you know, there's a few questions that are like 2 sides of a piece of paper with like 30 questions on there. That's more like send it to my office and we'll get back to you kind of stuff. You know, because we have a lot of people in here, and we find that if you have a question, a lot of other people have the same type of question, but I'm not going to read a letter out loud during Mayor's Night. So, and I know some people came with like 15 questions. I just want to, if you are one of those people, please find Donna and prioritize. Maybe ask the first couple that are really important to you, and then we'll cover them. But if you have more than that, we're going to have to ask you to, you know, we'll prioritize for you, I guess. So anyway, I didn't want to start off on a bummer. We have a lot of people here, and I want to make sure we get through all the questions, and there's a lot of them so far. So Donna, let's go ahead. Oh, first off, Sharon Daniels, Hammond's Personnel Officer. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sharon Daniels, Personnel and College Bound Coordinator.
Bob Vale, Building Department.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Timothy Woods, Public Works, 3rd District.
Kelly Kearney, Inspections Department.
Dennis Radowski, United Neighborhood Team.
Jaime Prieto, Code Enforcement.
Ron Novak, Environmental.
Lakeisha Garter, Planning and Development.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff.
John Doty, Police Department.
Africa Tarver, Planning and Development.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Councilman Higgs, 3rd District Councilman of the city of Hammond.
Chris Cantor, Law Department.
Nicole Sullivan, Hammond Port Authority.
Mark Heinz, Parks and Recreation.
Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Ed Caruso, Hammond Waters.
Chris Sackleres, Hammond Legal Aid Clinic.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Marty Wilgus, Hammond Sanitary District. Matt Muta, Hammond Sanitary District.
Kim Favres, Controller's Office.
Awesome. We have a lot of elected officials here, and I want to start off and recognize them and say thanks. First off, Hammond's County Councilman Dave Ham. Good to see you, Lake County Councilman. Thank you very much, Councilman. A gentleman we always love to see also come is North Township Trustee Frank Marvan. Thank you very much, Trustee Frank. Hammond City Clerk Robert Golick. Thank you very much, Clerk Golick. Hammond Council President Bob Markovich. Thank you very much, Bob. Hammond Councilman at Large Dan Spitali. Good to see you, Dan. I don't see her, but I know she's here. I'm going to take a guess that Councilwoman Janet Venez is here. Thank you very much. Right in front of me. It's a pretty good bet. Janet, I think, has been to every one of the mayor's nights. Hammond's 1st District Councilman Mark Kowinski. Again, 3rd District Councilman Anthony Higgs. Good to see you, Anthony. Hammond 4th District Councilman Bill Emerson. Hammond 6th District Councilman Scott Rakos. Dang, we got almost all of them here. I don't see the other 2. I'll wait until they walk in. Am I missing any other elected officials? I want to say thank you to everybody who showed up. And let's go ahead and get started. Hold on, I see people pointing. That means I messed up.
I think we're good, Mayor.
I already got Frank. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and get started.
I'm over here.
Hey,
Hi,
what's
Mayor.
up?
Donna Muta,
We
Hammond
got a
Parks
big
and
crowd.
Rec.
It's like hard to find you guys out
I'm
there.
trying to find a
Usually we
spot
only have
where I
like
won't block
30
the view.
people here and I can find you easy. This is great.
Let's kick off the night
By
with
the way, I
code
want to
enforcement.
remind everybody, this is being filmed live on Go Hammond TV, so you can watch it again once you get home if you want to. People are watching it live right now, so that's outstanding.
Great. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Code enforcement is our first one.
Okay.
There's
Jaime
a-
Prieto, you here? Nice. When you
Yeah.
take the job as code enforcement, you get the microphone a lot during Mayor's Night, so go ahead and grab it, Jaime.
There's a homeowner at 6500 Nevada that has been pumping water into the alley since 2018. The water's been freezing all winter. He called code in June and November of 18. I filled out a complaint on February 19th and nothing has happened. The homeowner is violating an ordinance
Do you
that
know
is
about this
stated.
one, Jaime?
And there's a picture here.
Okay.
Yes, we do know about this one. There is a citation on the house. What we're trying to do is work with the homeowner to see other ways he can dump the water out instead of the alley or to the street. We've had a few instances around the city, mostly in the Hesville area, where they've tried to put a French drain in their yard, doesn't work. They try to all sorts of kind of things. I won't get into, but we are aware of it. We are working with that owner as well as the other homeowners to try to rectify that problem.
Okay, and do me a favor, make sure that gets tagged to code enforcement. So I mean, a lot of times, the good thing about your written complaints is if you put your address on there, we can follow it up. You don't have to put your name and address on there, by the way, but it still would go, in this case, it goes to code enforcement, and Jaime would have a record of it so that we could follow it up, okay? Okay.
Next up, several police matters. First one.
If I seem like I'm trying to cruise through these, it's because there's a lot of questions, okay? And, all right, so anyway.
Cars traveling at a fast pace at the 800 block of Merrill, showing an increase in traffic in that area, and it is a safety concern.
Okay, we'll take an eye on that. We'll get our traffic over there to do some extra enforcement.
7700 Catalpa, the neighbors have witnessed what they feel are drug deals going down. They're renters from Chicago. They have video. They've called several times. Can you help?
Yeah, I'll have this document provided to me. You can also see me after. I'll talk to narcotics first thing tomorrow.
A lot of times when you ask a question and you think nothing's going on, a lot of times a lot's going on. We just don't have a way to get back to you. So I know a lot of times when there's a complaint to code enforcement, for instance, and then code enforcement starts following it up legally, maybe cites them, maybe they're in the process of getting ready to go to court. You may not realize that that's happening when in fact Jaime knows about it right off the top of his head. So I think a lot of times out there, there's frustration, but you'll find that we're actually following up. Crime tips is another one. I mean, somebody calls in a crime tip, the chief can't go out there and arrest the guy. They have to build a case, they have to make sure that's legit, because sometimes we get crime tips that are wrong. So we have to make sure your tip's legitimate, and then we follow it up. But I want you to know that asking these and writing them down, it works. The chief's going to take these back to his office, and so anyway.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you give us more information about the Neighbors app by Ring and how we can use it?
Good question. Phil, where are you? Hey, what's up? Phil, could you go ahead and, this is in conjunction with the Hammond Police Department and the city. I know Phil's been doing a lot of work on it, so I'll go ahead and let Phil talk about the giveaway.
Sure. If you haven't seen the press release, it actually went out yesterday. We are going to have an event on Wednesday, I believe it's April 24th. It's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Hammond Civic Center. And what this is a partnership that the city of Hammond is doing with the company Ring. It's the first one that's been done in the Midwest, by the way. And the mayor is offering basically $75 as a discount towards each product that's purchased. And as part of that, Ring is then going to offer $50 as a discount. So $125 altogether. So depending on which product you pick or choose, you will get a very good discount on that product. And to give you an example, the Ring doorbell, which is very popular, people have seen that quite a bit, it's approximately $200. So if you come to this event on Wednesday and you are a Hammond homeowner, you will be able to get that same product for $75. As part of this, we're also really going to be pushing hard what's called the Neighbors app. This is an app where a lot of concerns in neighborhoods get reported. So if you're part of this app, and you see something happening in your neighborhood on the street or whatever, you can go on there, put a little note on there that, hey, somebody's walking down the street checking door handles of cars, and then everybody who has that app in that specific neighborhood would get alerted, and then it helps our police department with potentially solving crimes faster, sooner, quicker. So we're very excited about this program. We think that the first 500 people that show up are going to be able to use the $125 discount. I guess that's very important to mention because there could be people that show up late, and if you're late and the products and we've already run out, you'll have to wait till the next event before you can jump in.
I think we're going to sell out the 500. Ring wanted us to start at 500 at a time. I thought we could do 1,000 easy. It seems to me like it's right in the sweet spot for Hammond residents. You know, our police department's very technological. We've gone to the LPR camera system as well in the city. This seems like a logical next step for a lot of the homeowners. I know it protects houses, especially with, you know, during the Christmas season when the gifts are being left on the porch. But that Neighbors app, I haven't downloaded it yet, and I'm embarrassed to say that, but I'm very happy to say my 13-year-old son Patrick has, and he tells me about everything that happens in the General Square area. I mean, this app is really cool from what I heard, and it sounds a lot like what we already do with the Hammond 311 and the thousands of people that use that currently. Chris, how many do we have? All right, Chris. Don't you hate it when I call your name and you're not at Mayor's Night? Where? Oh, does he? Hey, what's up, Tiffany? How many thousands of people are using the app now? It's a couple, a few. I'm just going to lie. I'll just exaggerate. It's like about 33,000 people, I think, use it at this point. No, but there's thousands of people to use it and thousands of complaints that come into our city. And so it just seems like an extension of that. Chief, do you want to mention anything about this also?
Well, first of all, we believe in the program. All video helps us. We use, whether it's Ring or not, we've been using video for years from
And
homes.
Chief, if you already have one, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You could still use the Neighbors app if you don't have the Ring doorbell, right?
Correct. It's going to be compatible. You can still upload your videos. You can still share them with the police department. All voluntary, by the way. You don't. It doesn't automatically go up in the cloud, and the police department can come to us. That's very important. You must authorize the sharing with us. We're only going to get what you want us to see. So whether it's something you want to send to us, or if we have a crime in the area and we know you're an app user, we'll come knock on your door. We'll talk to you personally, tell you what's going on, and ask if we can have access to your video. And again, still, it's up to you. We have no rights to take that. It's asking for cooperation. It's like an extension of Crime Watch. We solve video crimes all the time, whether it's from a business. We're investigating one in Hessville right now. We have cameras from 2 businesses on a recent shooting we just have over the weekend. We have everybody identified. We're getting ready to take people in custody just because of the cameras. We recently, just a couple of days ago, proved a false complaint. A person said they were shot on the doorstep of a residence. There was a Ring doorbell behind it. Didn't happen. Did not happen. So we believe that shooting occurred somewhere outside of Hammond, and then she's refusing to come and talk to us now, and she lied about the location the crime happened, and we were able to prove that with the assistance of that homeowner who had a Ring doorbell on, just looking out.
And 2 years ago, in that situation, when she lied about a shooting and where she got shot, 2 years ago, that goes on Hammond's records, even though it didn't happen here. It's just there, and we couldn't prove that it didn't happen there, and she said she got shot here. But in this case, the Hammond police had actual evidence that the shooting didn't happen there, and she completely lied, which saved us erroneous crime stats. So,
Mayor, if I could mention as well, I know I mentioned the Ring doorbell. Keep in mind there's going to be 7 or 8 different products there. So if you have the Ring doorbell, you can come and get the floodlight security camera, or they have these smaller canister security cameras that you could place anywhere. So I don't want you to think if you have the doorbell, this still might be a good event for you to come out to and save some
so
major
Phil,
dollars.
what if there's 3,000 people there and we only have 500 doorbells?
We have a problem because the first 500 people that get in line
That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, that's how it's going to work.
It's like the old days when you got concert tickets. You can camp out the night beforehand at the Civic Center, stuff like that. So,
Do you have to prove you're a resident, Mayor?
good question. I had somebody today, this is literally today, somebody said, Mayor, I work nights. can I send my roommate there to get it? And I said, that's a really good question, because I think it's gonna be very competitive.
You do. You have to.
You have to physically be the homeowner present. How do you prove? You bring your homeowner?
We're asking everybody to bring their license or ID with them, along with the utility bill and their name.
Okay.
And then we're going to have some people there. Some of the police officers are going to have computers. They're going to be able to look it up to see if it's a rental unit. And because right now, this first one's not for renters. You have to be a homeowner.
Gotcha. Okay. Any questions about the ring event coming up? What's the date again?
April 24th, 6 to 8 p.m.
It's a
at the
Thursday
Hammond
night,
Civic
right?
Center. Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, 2 weeks from tonight?
That's 1 week, I think.
1 week from tonight? 1 week from tonight, there you go. So, any questions about this event? Yes, ma'am. It's okay. It's unprecedented. Eva, my right arm is asking a question at Mayor's Night.
I should probably know this.
You should
but
know
you
this.
say,
Definitely.
You say 500 total. Is that like 500 floodlights,
Good
500
question.
doorbells?
Yeah.
No, so it's a $125 discount for 500 products.
So
it's-
they'll have more than each. So they.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of the products there. You can actually walk away with it, but some people, if, say there's a run on all doorbells, they could get a voucher where they could take it somewhere and then get it at Best Buy, but it's already paid for kind of thing.
Good question, Eva. Any other questions? All right, let's move on.
Okay, the next police question. When will the police be cracking down on Illinois license plates? I changed mine 21 years ago, and now I notice that most of the parents that come to Indiana, the parents at Lew Wallace Elementary to pick up their kids, have Illinois plates.
That problem is constantly being addressed. We have 2 officers assigned to that task in Community Affairs full-time. Community Affairs does go out to the schools and they do blitzes, and in cooperation with the school during special timing, like for example, the iLearn system's coming up, the testing for the kids. So we don't do it during that. We do it during off-peak times. So probably right after iLearn, we'll be doing the schools again, and that's all communicated again with Community Affairs. Use the 311 app, call it in, get it to us right away. Those individual officers that are out doing it every day, all day, they'll get on it right away.
This is something that'll always be in Hammond. We're on the border. There's a disparity between what Illinois charges and what Indiana charges. Whoever the mayor is 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, whoever the police chief is going to be getting the same questions we get now. It's a constant thing for us. We've never relaxed. If there's one change, in my opinion, that's happened is 10 years ago, the schools used to be funded primarily by the Hammond taxpayer. So that when you would see an Illinois license plate in the parking lot, they would literally be stealing from the Hammond taxpayer. About 9 years ago, that funding formula changed to where the state is covering the cost. And I don't think the schools care as much personally if they see an Illinois license plate in the parking lot. I think to them, that's just another student and more money. It's not coming out of Hammond taxpayers' back pocket, it's coming out of the Hoosier back pocket. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it was a lot different when we paid the bills at School City, 100%. It's a lot different in my opinion. I don't know if Chief would concur with that or not, but.
Yeah, I can say that 10 years ago, when we went and did a blitz at a school, it was school-driven.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Community Affairs driven by complaints from the citizens.
It's more driven from you, exactly, Chief, I agree. And like I said, 10 years ago, they were literally stealing from our back pocket. Now they're just getting a break on their BMV, but not making excuses. This is something that's present. It's something that's been present, something that probably will be present, but we have a job to do. And the chief didn't mention the apartment complexes either. I know you guys do a lot of work with the apartment complexes where we'll go sweep through and mark them up. And if they haven't changed their license plate within 60 days, we can get them. So, great question. Yeah.
Mayor, one of the major problems with that is, especially at Douglas Point, which is across the street from the police station, when I have meetings with the residents, that's one of their biggest concerns about residents from Illinois not switching their plates.
Yep. I agree, Councilman.
It's my understanding that you have 2 officers that specifically work on that for the license plates in Illinois.
Yes,
that's their task.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're busy. They have a lot of job security, unfortunately, but that's our job. So, all right, let's move on. Good question. Thank you.
6200 block of Jefferson, there are some Illinois license plates and several cars with no parking stickers. Can the police come by and ticket these cars?
First off, Illinois license plates. That doesn't surprise me. Another question. The second part was again?
They don't have parking stickers, I guess as a guest.
Is that resident-only parking, 62? Huh? Must be.
Doesn't say that here.
Chief?
If it's residential-only parking, same thing, report it to us, and we'll come out and run the plate. We'll make sure that the plate does not belong there, because not everybody honors whether they live there or not, to be honest. That's a hard one for us. If it's an Illinois plate, they obviously don't live there. But a lot of Indiana residents, a lot of Hammond residents, they don't take the time to go get the visitor passes, and hand them out to their visitors and people coming over to their houses. They may not even put one in their own car. It happened on my block. It got passed, a sign went up like halfway down the street. Somebody made my block a residential parking only. I had no idea. Nobody sent me a parking thing in the mail. So for years, my car was parked out front, and my squad, without any residential parking thing in it, because I was never notified. I didn't know. Everybody at the other end of the street near the gas station where the problems were, they knew. I really wasn't affected by it, and I had no idea. So your own neighbors may have no idea. They may not be conscious of the problem. So talk to them, but always call. 311 is the best way. It goes straight to community affairs every morning, and we'll come out and determine if the car belongs and take appropriate action.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, next up, Chief, the medicine recycling or controlled substance drop-off. Can you talk about if you're going to do that again?
We do that in coordination with the DEA. That happens periodically on their schedule. We just finished one up not too long ago. There's another one in the works, but more importantly, I just talked to the captain of narcotics, and we're working on a system right now where we have a permanent box. So that is in the works right now, and I believe that is going to be funded by the DEA, the installation of that box.
And that would be at the police department?
That'd be at the police department. It's probably going to be in the foyer.
Great, thank you, Chief. The dropping off of electronic devices, computers, printers, stereo equipment. How do we do that? Is there a recycle program? Do we just call for pickup?
Hey, Gary. Gary Gleason, Hammond Department of Public Works.
Hi, actually,
Head honcho, whatever your official title is.
right now, any kind of TVs or anything like that, you can just put outside and call us. We have a company that takes the TVs away. Right now, for the other electronics, there's different drop-offs, and the closest to us is Whiting. So you can get hold of them. I believe it's on Front Street. You can take them there.
Thanks. Are we not live right now, Jake? What's the matter? We're not live? I didn't find it. Okay. Huh?
We think the same question is being asked twice. 7700 Catalpa. 770 something. Yes, there it is. Yeah. Sorry.
If it seems like it's an issue that's unique to one person in this room, I think those should be addressed like with the person after. If it's a sort of like a common issue like snow or Illinois license plate, I can see. But if it's like, hey, my neighbor has this issue, I mean, maybe because there's so many questions, maybe we should just follow it up with the department head after. But let's go ahead and try to get through what we got, Donna.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 questions here, Mayor, about what's going on with the old Walmart site.
Good. All right. Hi, Africa. Where are you? Hey, what's going on? Africa Tarver, head of planning development.
The old Walmart has been purchased by a private developer. We've met with him quite a few times. He had some plans that we wanted to work with him a little bit more, so you should see some activity in that area very, very soon. We're very excited about some of the plans for that area.
More importantly, we have plans for the Carson Prairie Scott right now. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Phil? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we put out what's called an RFP, which is request for proposals for the building that's obviously just north of us here, the Carsons. I think everybody knows they went bankrupt at this point. So it's been vacant for quite a while. On May 27th, the building itself the demolition is going to begin. So if you want any pictures of the old building, now's the time to do it, because very soon this building's going to be gone. But in response to the RFP that we put out, we received 4 major proposals from different developers. The highest one, just to give you an example, was approximately $80 million worth of a development. So it's very exciting. There's a lot of homework we have to do, a lot of due diligence to work through these developers and find out who can start this project very soon. the different types of uses they're talking about there, which is retail and restaurant and sports-related stuff like that, and possibly even a hotel or something along those lines. So it's exciting. We still have a lot of work to do, but because of what's been created at this Sportsplex already, we put ourselves in a position now to have something really cool that's going to work in synergy with this building. So we're very excited about it.
Okay. Any questions about that?
I'm excited.
Thank you, Councilman. You seem very excited.
Several questions about lights, Mayor. The lights on the road between Food for Less and the old Walmart are never on. Why? What type of warehouse operation is being done there?
The lights between the Food for Less and the Walmart along 167th are never on?
What that would be?
They might be talking about the road that's not a city road. It's owned by probably the Walmart group or something like that. And so when Walmart closed, I would assume they maybe shut it down, but we can look into that and make sure that, you know, they turn it back on. So it's a safety issue.
But it's not a road.
It's a cut through that a lot of people use.
Right, but it's not a city road.
True.
Right. I imagine it has something to do with utility bills, because utility bills, if you're running a light every night, 365 days a year, Dean, how much do you think lights like that would cost, just those lights?
Well, so it kind of depends on if they're LED lights, which would be a lot less, but
Let's assume they're not, because they've been there forever.
a couple thousand probably
Okay.
a year. It's not a lot of money to get them turned on, and it would only be during the.
But technically, that street, that cut through that everybody uses, that I used to get here today, actually, it's not an official street. It's just a cut through that we've all grown accustomed to, so.
Is there a plan for lights for the neighborhood to the south of this location?
I'm not sure. Usually lighting programs begin with the councilman. The engineer's office works with the council person, and the council person gets discretionary gaming revenue to do these types of projects. So typically when they happen, it generates itself at the council level and then gets to the engineering department, and usually then I'll pitch in and we'll do a project together, but you know, that's the district councilman's primary responsibility when they start lighting projects.
Mayor, if I can reiterate on that, in fact, this district cuts off between me and Councilman Warble. And so I plan to do additional projects with the overlay, because 167th Street is like a bumpy road, and there's 2 cemeteries in the old NIPSCO building as well. So it needs an overlay, and I'm also planning to do a sidewalk from Tanglewood to the sports complex.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay.
This is a concern about frequent power outages on this block. It's 1000 Cherry. Why is this consistently experiencing outages?
We'll move forward that one to Dean.
We can raise it with NIPSCO.
Right.
We're not in charge of the public utilities.
But yeah, I mean,
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry. What?
It could be overgrown trees hitting the lines. It could be a faulty system, but I'm not sure.
It does say they're very, on the positive side, they're very happy with the trees that were removed, so that.
Well, if NIPSCO gets rid of trees, they get rid of trees. Like when they come out to trim your trees to get it off the power lines, they hack the trees, and the trees won't be in the power lines for years. But do you know anything about the 1000 Buckets area in particular?
No, I'm not aware of that issue, Mayor, but we will, if I can get that
Yeah.
information, I'll reach out to NIPSCO. We'll look into if there's some pressure we can put on to make sure.
I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
The old Monon Rail Crossing at Kenwood and Detroit, Conkey and Highland and Douglas. All of these need repairs. They're all very rough on
The
vehicles.
old Monon crossing at Kenwood.
Detroit, Conkey, Highland,
Yeah,
and Douglas.
it's brutal.
The
I
whole
agree.
way through the whole
I ride my
trail.
bike through there. It's rough. I agree. I go slow when I go through there. And when you're going east to west in the car across those crossings, it's pretty brutal. The good news is, some of you will think this is good news, some of you will think this is bad news, but if the South Shore extension happens, they're gonna smooth that entire line out. If the South Shore extension doesn't happen, then it's gonna fall upon us to not only fix that line or pull that line out, but what to do with downtown Hammond as well, because downtown Hammond's sort of waiting on the fate of this project right now, which is still sort of in limbo, believe it or not. I agree, those crossings are rough. If that train comes through there, that whole area is gonna be redone. From basically 173rd, well, actually from the river all the way to downtown Hammond will be, that whole Monon stretch will be completely brand new. If the South Shore extension happens, I hear a lot of detractors that hate this project, and they've hated this project from day one. And you know, I listen to what they say, of course, and I also have to listen to what other people say. And I think just being selfish, just being the selfish mayor of Hammond, I think this is a great project for us. We're going to put about, how much? $450,000 a year for 30 years?
Yes.
That's $13 million over 30 years, and we're going to get a couple $100 million in investment out of it. So when people tell you the trains are a boondoggle, or people tell you that trains are old technology, and all I can tell you is I can do math. And if we're going to put in $13 million and we're going to get a couple $100 million of infrastructure and jobs and new railroad crossings at Detroit and Kenwood and stuff like that that we can't even think about doing right now because we don't have that much money, that's a thing. Just being selfish, just looking at the mayor of Hammond, the parochially at the city of Hammond, I think it's a great project for us if it happens, but we're still sort of waiting on that. So, yeah.
And to re-emphasize on that, if you're really interested in it, contact Congressman Wiskowski.
Interestingly enough, the NICD had a meeting in this room today at 10 o'clock a.m., and it was for all the contractors that are going to be bidding on that project. And the way I watched part of the presentation, and they basically said the funding is now in place. It's a matter of when is the funding coming in and when is it going to start. But they're already talking to the contractors about bidding on the work, so it's moving along.
When you're talking work, you're talking the demo?
Well, right, from beginning to finish, because they went through every aspect, the gateway station, because we have 2 stations in Hammond, obviously, as of right now.
Great. Thank you. Let's keep moving.
Okay, Mayor, water and sanitary bills are combined into one bill. 85% of the bill is sanitary and 15% is used for water. A mishandling.
Well, I mean, we also have garbage in there. Because sanitary bills for garbage, and they're getting wrongfully blamed for sanitary's bill. It's $25 a month, or $25, is it every 2 months? It's going towards that. So, you know, Marty's getting wrongfully blamed for that because that's on the bill also. But I agree that sanitary rate is 3 times the water rate, but on your bill that you're paying, there's a good chunk in there for garbage too, which is expensive. You know, a lot of people just put the garbage out and they don't think about it, but we have to collect it. We have to recycle what we can recycle, hopefully make some money off of that, and then we have to landfill the rest of it, and it's expensive. So, you know, that's the thing about when you're on our side of the fence, you know, things aren't getting cheaper. But anyway, let's go back to the question.
Is it possible that you might consider billing separately for each?
Probably not. That won't get cheaper. I'll have to get a whole separate staff to bill on the water side. So it saves us money actually to bill on one bill like that. And, you know, the federal government is forcing Hammond Sanitary District to do $250 million worth of work over the next 17 years. There's no room in the budget for that. You don't have enough bonding capacity to do $250 million worth of work required by the federal government without rate increases. Now, we've done about $50 or $60 million worth of the work already, and I feel like we're off to a good start. When we got 17 years to finish this, and I'm pretty content with my life right now. I think $50 or $60 million is a pretty good start on the $250 million, okay? But let's just be realistic here. Over the next 17 years, your sanitary bill will go up because it has to, because we're being required by the federal government to do it. They're not asking, they're not negotiating, they're telling us this is what you have to do. Their goal in the federal government is to make it so that the Hammond Sanitary District has 0 overflow events a year. Overflow events, like there's so much water and sewage hitting the plant that it can't even keep up and it starts overflowing into the Grand Calumet River. And the Grand Calumet River flows into Lake Michigan. And then we want to go to the beach and they say you can't because there's high E. coli. That's a nice way of saying don't swim in that water, okay? So when my father was mayor, they probably had 50 events a year? A year? I mean, it's a year, in a year.
Multiple locations.
But how many?
Thousands of events, right?
In a year?
Yeah, because when you get an event, you get 13 or 14 different overflows happening at once.
So when my dad was mayor, you could overflow, and you're just like, hey, it rained a lot today. We overflowed. Oh, no big deal. We just won't swim in Lake Michigan tomorrow, right? Now they're saying you got 0 overflows, which means when the plant's getting too much water, we have to have a place to put it so that we can treat it later, which is why you see the big ditch next to the sanitary district right along Columbia Avenue. That holds 50 million gallons? 33 million gallons, it cost us 50 million to build it. I remember there was a 50 in there, okay? So that, yeah, it's the other way around, unfortunately. That holds 33 million gallons, and we probably need a couple more locations throughout the city of Hammond to store water so that when we have these huge 100-year storms, we have a place to put the water so that we don't overflow. And if we do overflow, it's not good. So, getting back to your bill, all right? Sanitary, I think, is set, okay? I think we're doing good for a while, but there's a lot of pressure on us to keep doing that work and to keep on. And if we do that work, we have to come to you guys and explain it, and I don't really feel like doing that right now, I'll be honest with you. I've taken on a lot as your mayor in the last 15 years. I don't really feel like I have to solve all the world's problems, so I'm in a pretty good place right now. So, anyway, did I answer the question? I don't know if it did. Ed?
I think it did.
Hey, Ed. Now, water, on the other hand, they make money for the city. I love water. Marty loses money for the city. Ed makes money for the city, right? Ed's got the cheapest water rates in the state of Indiana. Is that true?
That's correct.
Is there even a close second?
Not even a close second.
So it's hard to compare your water side to the sanitary side because Marty's rates are normal. They're not high by any stretch. There's way higher communities, right? But the water rate, we give it away. It's actually wasteful. We give it to you so cheap, I think you just like, You're like, who cares? It's just water, right? And then it flows back to Marty where he's losing money, right? So like, it's hard to compare water and sanitary. I realize they're on the same bill, but right now you're getting water cheaper than anybody, I'm going to dare say, the United States. I mean, there's very few places that get it cheaper than us in the United States. Probably a Great Lake city like us.
Mayor, as far as separating the bill, it doesn't make any sense. We bill for the sanitary district, we bill for sanitation for the garbage.
But if we did separate it, we'd have to have a whole separate staff.
Exactly. You pay postage and have to staff it, and it doesn't make any sense.
Gotcha. So, anyway, that was a good discussion we had about sanitary and water rates. Water does a really good job for us. I mean, and sanitary does too, don't get me wrong. But when we make money like we do in the Hammond Water Department, that's something to be proud of. And it helps fund our College Bound Scholarship Program, which is amazing. So we have business partners in Illinois that sell Hammond water. And the more they sell, the more they get. The more they get, the more we get. It's a nice little partnership. It works out for all of us. So anyway, questions?
Mayor, would it be possible to get an electric vehicle charging station for this location?
That's a no-brainer. See? Ta-da! This is why we do public meetings. This is a perfect question. We have one at City Hall, and when we put it in, I remember I said, nobody's ever going to use that. We have 2 electric cars every day at City Hall parking lot charging. Hey, what's up, Jim? Nice to see you. Everybody, this is Jim. He runs the Sportsplex. How's it going, Jim? So anyway, the Wi-Fi is not working or something. Anyway, electric charging station, Jim. You heard that before?
I heard about it right before this meeting, so I'm on board with it.
It's a good idea, right?
I think so.
You probably put it closer to the building?
Absolutely. There's space out there.
There is space out there. It's a great idea.
Mayor, as you know, there are 3 charging stations at the city. There's the one at City Hall, there's the one at the Environmental Education Center, and the Marina, right? Those were programs that were offered by the utility and through NERC where we had subsidies to put those stations in. They're connected to our facilities.
Right.
Yeah, so we would just reach out to that same group to try to get those done here.
Makes sense to me. Hey, Jim, let me ask you a question about the Sportsplex. How many walkers do you have signed up for walking?
Right now, we have just about 2,700 registered walkers for the Sportsplex. That means that is people that sign waivers so they can come in. It's free to walk in the facility, and that's our number of.
What if you don't sign a waiver? Because I know a couple people that haven't signed up. They're like,
well, if we
skirting the law.
Yeah, there's some times where we have an event too, and some of the parents of kids that are here for an event are walking up there. But those are the ones that.
What's the advantages of signing up? Can I walk in on a Saturday if you're having a big tournament just to show you my?
Yeah, you just show your card. We keep track of your laps for you, so it's just a way to.
Really?
Yeah. So there's people that do 100 miles a month.
Stuff. You keep track of their laps?
Yes. We have plaques for the people that make 100 miles in a month. We have 75 miles. We have a 50-mile club.
Really?
So there are people that are here every single day, and not of the 2,700, 1,100 of them are Hammond residents. So that means that many more people are coming from outside of the city of Hammond. I know Crown Point, Cherville, We have people that come in here for volleyball from Hebron, so we're bringing
Election year,
people
you can
from
put
all
like,
over
you can
Northwest.
put signs all the way around. You can sell them. It's great.
Did you know that's happening already?
I'm uncontested.
We are doing a circuit training, so we got 5 corners in there. We have so many walkers that we're going to put some exercises in there, and we're selling ads for it right
Awesome.
now.
Good
So we've
for you.
actually sold 2 already. So not only will they be able to walk, but there will be an exercise station for everybody to stop.
Hey Jim, I know this because I'm the mayor, and we've been talking about it a little bit in public, but we're about to do an upgrade upstairs. Could you talk a little bit about the Union Lounge proposal?
Yep, we have. We've worked out a deal with the unions in the area, and they are sponsoring a lounge that we're going to put upstairs. That'll be an area during the day you'll be able to sit down, have coffee.
So when you
have
say
donuts.
upstairs, it's the
Yeah, there's a
area.
wide open space on the 2nd level. It's just kind of an open area that's not being utilized right now. So we're gonna build this up. Hopefully, it'll be ready in the fall, and it'll be a really great place for people to go in. And then in the evenings or on the weekends during big events, you'll be able to have a drink or 2 in there. It'll be managed in there, but it'll be a place that we'll be able to utilize for our walkers. We'll be able to do guest speakers. We'll be able to do walk with the mayor, walk with the doctor. We'll have all kinds of programs that we'll do for the walkers that come into the facility.
Walk with the mayor. It's the first I've heard of that. Like how you slipped that in.
Yeah, it's already locked in, Mayor. It was part of the deal.
Yeah, when I first became mayor, I fell for this once. They said, Mayor, you want to go to the mayor's pool party? And I said, yeah, that sounds great. And I didn't realize the mayor gets thrown in the pool every pool party. So.
Yeah. You want some more numbers?
Sure.
We do open gyms. So one of the things we do, mostly this facility during the evenings is for practice. We have some events, but on the weekends we have big events that come through. But when we have open gyms, we have just under 6,000 people that have signed waivers to do open gyms in here. So that's a lot of people. And we opened, if you don't know, we opened in October. So that's in the first 6 months. We have 6,000 waivers. 2,000 of those are Hammond residents. So we have 4,000 people from outside of Hammond that come in and use the facility, and they pay a little bit more than the Hammond residents do. So I know we get a lot of questions about if we give discounts. We do family discounts for Hammond residents. We do some free events for Hammond residents. We've done some volleyball camps, some soccer camps, things like that we do. So there are different things that we do for Hammond residents. In March, we had 20, sorry, I'm losing my numbers there. Where's my walkers? Mid-March, we had 1,650 guests come through that played basketball, open gym basketball, open gym volleyball, or open gym soccer. So, and in the walkers, I think it's 4,200 walkers used the facility in the month of March. So 4,200 times this was used for a walker to come in. That's the ones that sign in and use the facility. So about 4,000 people are coming in. Half of those walkers are Hammond residents.
Awesome. Great job, Jim. You know, this project is something we're super proud of. We paid for it with interesting financing mechanism through community development. So I was going to ask Africa if you can talk a little bit about how we finance this project.
Sure. The project was federally financed with HUD funding, which HUD stands for the Housing and Urban Development. And we have a Section 108 loan, which we've used in the past. We basically were almost paid up, and then they came to us, and HUD was like, well, would you like to borrow some more money? And what we had to do was look in the city and say, what would be the highest and best use of that funding? So what we looked at, we were like, okay, where can we put something that will increase the quality of life and also meet all the requirements that HUD was requiring? And we got together, worked together, and we came up with the Sportsplex, which has really been a win-win for Hammond and the surrounding area.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So what was it, it's $18 million?
$17 million.
17 million, and it was $9 million covered by HUD?
Correct, $9 million. The rest was covered by other financing and with our allocation area.
Right, so. And as far as what we envision here, I mean, obviously when Carson Prairie Scott comes down, it's gonna leave a really big space right next to here, and we probably lay the whole area out differently, but I tell you, I'm dreaming big right now. Even with the Payless across the street shutting down, you know, that didn't break my heart, no offense to Payless, but I mean, I think that's a great location for possibly some type of restaurant, like a Chipotle type of restaurant. And we're looking at this whole area a lot differently now because of the number of people that come through those front doors. I mean, you know, I'm very proud of this project. I think that just the number of people that come through has justified it already. And we're not even done with year one yet. Can you imagine 10 years from now, the type of development that's gonna be around this? I'm a baseball coach. I don't really play indoor sports. I play baseball. And we travel and we stay in hotels and we go to the restaurants because you have no place else to go. You're trapped. Jim, how many times do you have out-of-town teams coming in here to play tournaments?
Yeah, we're booked basically through July. So every single weekend on the basketball side, we'll have AAU basketball, different kind of tournaments. And
what's the furthest away you've seen a team from?
we've had some Wisconsin, we've had some Michigan. Those are the two.
Right.
Every time we have a big tournament, it seems like we get a big snowstorm. So we've had a couple that have canceled because of snowstorms that we've had.
Gotcha.
St. Louis, I know we had teams that canceled from St. Louis when we
So
had one
when's
big.
the slow time in sports betting? Is it during the summer?
It'll be August will be kind of our slow window, and that's when we'll resurface the basketball side. As it gets warmer outside, a lot of the soccer goes outside, so we're looking for different things that we're going to do to keep people coming in here.
Interesting facts. The number, I was amazed when I learned the revenue that we're doing out of the concession stand area.
Right.
I mean, it's impressive, right?
Yes.
It's like a business.
It is going to be. We're going to.
How many hot dogs have you sold, do you think?
Well, since January, we sold 4,500 hot dogs. I was ready for
4,500
that.
hot dogs. It's a lot of clogged arteries. I mean.
And the concession stand is open, so if you want to see what everybody's talking about, you can get a hot dog right after this.
Gatorade?
7,500, Chrissy. I think we sold 75.
That's why I asked him these questions. I knew he knew the answer, but that's impressive. So.
Yeah.
Mayor, if I can, one of the things I'm excited about is the NFL draft. Can you reiterate about that?
Sure.
Yep. On April 27th, if you don't know, Hammond was one of the original NFL teams. Papa Bear Hallis from the Chicago Bears actually played for the Hammond pros that are in here. So on Saturday, April 27th, we're going to have, the mayor is actually going to announce a live draft pick for the San Diego Chargers. It'll be the 6th round.
I'm going to tell you guys a secret. They're getting the kicker, Cody Parkey, for sure. Okay?
So, and we're also, we've worked with, or we've agreed to do a combine for kids. So if you have any kids that are football players, they'll get to run through a combine. That'll be like we'll do their 40 speed, and we'll do that. And that's Empowering Athletes for Life is doing it. The strength and conditioning coach for the Chicago Blackhawks is going to be here, and he's going to be running this. So it'll be a pretty cool event for kids. We're going to have some giveaways, I think, some mementos for them to do on that day. And everybody will be able to get behind the mayor and be on live TV and the NFL Network when he makes the pick. We're going to fit as many people in there as we can. So from 1 to 5 on April 27th will be a great time to come out. It'll be a once-in-a-lifetime event for the 100-year anniversary of the NFL.
So this is life in the day of the mayor. I was telling you about the whole mayor's pool party getting thrown in. So my staff's like, we have a great idea about the NFL draft. I was like, I think it was you that told me. Like, give me the news, Phil. And he says, you're going to make the draft, and there's going to be a bunch of kids there. I go, yeah. And he goes, and after you make the draft, they'll dump a bunch of Gatorade on you. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
We're still negotiating that, aren't we?
Everybody wants to dump stuff on the mayor. I mean,
the NFL was here today, and they said no to that anyhow because you're going to be electric stuff. So I didn't want to be responsible for the mayor getting electrocuted.
Electrocuting the mayor on live TV is not right. So that would be bad. You'd have, yeah. So.
Right. You did ask about the tournaments that come through. One Day Shootouts is just one of our partners on tournaments. They're the ones we do the most tournaments with, and I asked them for some numbers. So since we opened in October, 543 teams have come through in a one-day shootout and played basketball here at the Hammond Sports Park.
Nice. Anybody have any questions about the Sportsplex? Seems like we sort of took a detour there. Yes, I see it, Barry. How's everything?
You were talking about looking for different things to bring in when soccer is kind of slow. Have you thought about flag football?
Good question. Jim? Flag football. I imagine you're talking like in summertime, August, before football season. Right. Gotcha.
We are open to everything. We've talked to a few people about flag football. If you've seen the soccer side, the glass is on there, and that glass does not give. So it's one of the concerns is when you're doing touch football, if it gets a little rough and somebody goes into that glass, we're concerned about that. So if somebody did want to do a flag football league, we'd be open to it, but they're going to have some pretty good insurance.
No checking. Good question. But it's interesting, though, because we do have batting cages in here, and I know Purdue, Winter Sports, comes in, and they rent this facility from us, and they're primarily your main customer during that time of year, right?
Right. During the day, the Purdue women's softball team, the men's baseball team, and the men's and women's soccer team they've rented the facility during non-peak hours, and they're able to come in and practice when it's cold. When it's under 40 degrees or raining, you'll see those teams will be in here practicing. So that once it gets to 4 o'clock, we shut them down, and then we open up for our leagues and events like what you'll see going on out there today.
Okay, questions, Sportsplex? All right, let's move on. Thank you.
Mayor, our last written question.
What?
If there is a home in your neighborhood that's
I'm
in
sure if you have more questions, now's the time to rally. I'm not begging, but sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
If the house in your neighborhood is in deplorable condition, it has to be painted, and it hasn't been painted for a long time, the residents think that it is the homeowner living there. Is there some kind of service or anything the city can help this guy with, or somehow help get his house painted? It looks horrible.
Could you repeat that?
We used to have a painting program. I think that's what people are referring to.
Right. I think they're looking for loans or whatnot, and
there's really not a lot of that in our budget anymore. And it's sad to say, when I didn't realize when I took over in 2004 how much things would change in my 15 years as your mayor. It's incredible. We used to get $5 million every year from federal government. We used to have loans for like your roof goes out. We had loans that could repair if you met income qualifications. Africa, could you cover that a little bit for me?
Correct, we did, and I see Andrea Lewis in the crowd as well. As I stated before, we do receive funding from HUD, but much like a lot of other funding services, those funds are drying up. However, what we have done is we partner with different banks that are working like with their Community Reinvestment Act, and when we're not able to do things, it's not a free grant, but we've been able to work with some banks to sort of fill that gap a little bit. We also have Hammers for Hearts, which is a program that is, it works with minor home rehab. But until we find another funding source, some of the programs do have to go away, and we have to really allocate the dollars in the area where it's the greatest need.
we do have the Dust to Dawn Light program in effect, though.
Thanks, Councilman. I want to cover Parks Department real quick. We're going to bring up some stuff. You have one park project that was completed, and you're working on 2 actively, and we're still in the planning stages on another one. Could you give us a quick update on the park improvement bond and how we use the proceeds of that bond to do the 4 projects I talked about?
Sure.
This is Mark Hines, Hammond Park Department.
We wrapped up, Edison Park was the first one that got done. We wrapped up a park improvement out there, had a ribbon cutting out there last November, and the next day it snowed. So it felt like it was right there before the beginning of winter. But if you haven't been by yet, I guess it's a problem when kids are still playing in the park at midnight. But and when the park closes at dusk, but if we can say it's a good problem to have, I guess that shows that they're doing positive recreation out there rather than that. But that particular park included 2 smaller versions of what we have inside here as far as the indoor soccer. We have new playground equipment there. There's concrete beanbags, shelters, a small skate spot area, and a walking perimeter that goes around the whole park that's about 1/3 of a mile. So that park project got underway, and then the second one, or the next one that got underway was the Hessville Park at 173rd and Kennedy. That one's currently winding down. Beginning next week, you'll see our skate park company coming in to build a new concrete bowl skate park. They'll be on site next week. And we're wrapping up with the interactive water feature out there now. We've been pouring concrete this week in that area. And the walking paths has happened. So there's a lot of improvements there. We put surfacing underneath the playground. That park, I think, is going to be very well received here. We should have an opening probably going towards the end of May or possibly early June, depending on how we schedule that. The next park that we undertook was MLK Park, which there wasn't a lot of room in here, so on your way out today, or maybe on your way in, you saw out in the hallway out here, there's some poster boards about that master plan for that, a park here in the 3rd District. And we're doing that one in 2 phases. We started the first phase last year, which included, we're basically touching just about all areas of that park, pretty much all the way from City Hall to Columbia. The first phase was pretty much the area west of Tapper, closer to City Hall. That has a new workout equipment section area. It's our second one in town. We also have one at Columbia that we put in a year or so ago. The basketball courts are getting rebuilt. They're getting a full reconstruction. The asphalt was removed, repaved. Once the temperatures warm up consistently, where we're at warmer temperatures even throughout the night, we'll be out there to put the finishing touches on the coating, install the hoops, and get the basketball courts back reopened. That includes 2 full courts as well as 2 half courts. There's also something going in out there that's called a hoop tree, which is the only one of a kind. This will be the only one of its kind in the USA. It's been designed after one that's actually out in France. So it's meant to look like a tree. It's an interactive art. So it'll have basketball hoops at various heights. I think the lowest might be 6 feet high, and the highest as high as 16 or 18 feet high. And you'll be able to shoot at that. So that's a fun thing. There's a Freedom Plaza, is a really big way just on the east side of Tapper there. That is part of Phase 1. That will be the dedicated area to really honor Dr. King, as the park's been named after, which is something that we're proud of. That park, I'd like to mention that Councilman Higgs and Mayor both put in the original plaque that's on the shelter at the far east end of the park back a number of years ago, and this is a further honor for Dr. King in that area. We've really themed the whole park after him and his life and his speeches. There will be walking path markers around the perimeter that have quotes on them from his life. There will be a timeline wall, which there's poster boards outside that are representative of what that is. We'll also be doing a new playground there with the poured in place, the rubber surfacing underneath it, and then also some additional improvements at the far east end. The big major factor there is another interactive water feature, which I'd like to point out at that park as well as the one at Hessville. These are going to be open water play areas, no fencing, no costs, no lifeguards to keep our costs down, but it's there to sit and eat lunch at if you don't want to. For you who wants to get wet, go in there and get wet. So it's available for you on that side of it. So those are really the big ones that are currently underway. We do have a plan for Pulaski Park, which includes a new pool there. We are trying to figure out the final funding for that. But that would be the 4th one out of the bond issue that Mayor mentioned that we did about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now. As well as, and then I also, just as a highlight, there will be some improvements coming this summer at Irving Park as well, that Councilman and Mayor have teamed up with there to do some further improvements there. So lots of things happening in the parks.
Thanks, Mark.
One thing he didn't mention was the internal flame that the Ministerial Alliance had approached the mayor about, and me and the mayor discussed. So there'll be an internal flame in honor of Dr. King presented at MLK Park as well.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Councilman.
Hey, Nicole, could you grab the microphone real quick? This is Nicole Sullivan from the Hammond Port Authority. I know that the marina is opening, and I know the golf course is open. Can you go ahead and talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
The golf course opened at the end of March, and the weather's been a little iffy. But right now we're having spring rates, so.
You getting a lot of play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the nice days, like today was.
How's the restaurant doing?
Restaurant's doing better, obviously, since the weather broke. It definitely helps.
It
We've got some
definitely
upgrades there at the
yeah,
restaurant.
the Emerald Green. If you haven't gotten a chance to see the new restaurant at the Lost Marsh, it's doing really well. A couple local residents running it, so.
Yeah, Bernie Grisolia, Phil Gravrillo.
Both of them, Hammond residents, are running it. And
yes, and the food is great, honestly. The Port Authority, April 27th, is that our first weekend that we're open, Mylan? Yeah, April 27th will be open on weekends. The Splash Pad opens Memorial Day weekend. And really, that's about it. New cart paths coming in.
Lifeguards, thank you. If your son or daughter is a certified lifeguard or is a good swimmer and smart enough to pass the EMT test, Mylan, why don't you go ahead and stand up and give a little commercial on that, if you don't mind. We go through this every year, and we want to hire Hammond residents, and sometimes we don't have enough applicants to hire all Hammond residents. So, Mylan?
Yeah, we really do need lifeguards desperately. One of the, okay, Jake, thank you. Yeah, we do need lifeguards. We've hired kids from other communities because they will come out and they'll be open water certified. They'll get their CPR training, and we try to work with the YMCA to get kids trained. We're doing that this year. But every now and then we try to take some kids from Walhalla as well, or the WOZO. So we do switch back and forth with our personnel. We usually pay more than the standard normal $7.25 an hour rate. I think we're starting out at $9 if you're open water certified. So a great opportunity. Again, not necessarily have to be from Hammond. We want as many from Hammond as we can, but we'll take kids from other communities as well.
We're going to Hammond first, but
Definitely.
this test is not super easy. So
No.
if they're not strong swimmers, or if they're not really physically fit, the good thing is they will be very physically fit at the end of the summer. I know the lifeguards get pushed really hard, and we have a young man that grew up in Hammond I know very well is going to be leading the lifeguards out there this year. So
Yes, he is.
it's a great opportunity to work out and patrol the beach every day. And it's clothing optional, which is another great thing about it.
And that's usually just for the chief of staff, right?
Yeah, right.
No, Mayor, you're right. Your son had to work really hard last year to get that open
My
water
son had to work
certification.
really hard.
And he really did.
He was in real good shape. He swam his whole life. He kept in shape. He's smart, passed the test in the open water certification. Almost broke him, but he passed it. I was super proud of him. But it's to pass open water cert. If you're not a strong swimmer, it's not easy. So obviously, if you're gonna be a lifeguard, you got to be able to save people. So you got to be a strong swimmer. Tommy's a good athlete, and he made it. I was proud of him.
We'll be open from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day.
Good.
And we like to use the phrase, we try to, not have to save people, but protect people from themselves.
Good.
They get in the open water and it gets a little crazy.
True story.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Marlon. Good job. Yeah.
We are accepting applications for all positions at the Port Authority, so if you know anybody that's looking for seasonal part-time work, we do have it. So send them to the Port Authority.
Thank you.
Mayor, I wanted to take this time to thank Mark for getting the trees cleaned out at Harrison Park, something that I was destitute about getting done. So Mark, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark. We were aided by the emerald ash borer with those trees. They destroyed. If you looked at the trees, they were piled up right by Harrison Park, and there was a lot of people that were upset about the trees being cut down because it's upsetting to see 50, 60 trees laying on the ground like that, and then when you drove by and you look at the inner part of the tree, it's all hollow because those bugs get inside of the tree and they eat it from the inside out, and it kills them. And they're just, they're still standing, but they're hollow basically. So I know that's a big problem in our city, obviously, Mark.
Everywhere they got to be going. I mean, they're being taken down everywhere unless they've been treated many years before
Right.
that it happened. But I do want to add that we actually were already out there the first Saturday in April, and planted 50 new trees.
Right.
And we're going to be going back out there, and volunteers are welcome to attend Saturday, April 27th, 9 a.m. We're going to be planting another 50 out there as well.
We love trees. I love trees. When we take them down, we put them back up. But we take down something that's 100 feet tall and we put something up that's 3 feet tall. It's not the same, but 30 years from now, it'll look nice, I promise. I wanted to cover another commercial break, so to speak. I know we had another question. This is an opportunity for you to get another written question in. Africa, I wanted to go to you. Good news that happened recently in this very neighborhood was we had Lear Seating that was actively looking for a new location, and they were going to consolidate 900 jobs under one roof, and Lear Seating was in basically bidding communities against each other to try to find each other, and we were lucky enough to succeed and relocate Lear Seating, and they're, imagine, getting pretty close to formally opening, right?
Correct. They're going to open their doors, I think I wrote it down, I think June.
They're
They should
literally
open it.
right across the old nine-span bridge, right over there on the Hammond side of Michigan Avenue, across the street from East Chicago train station. It's a beautiful, successful story for us because we consolidated jobs from Portage into Hammond, which makes me real happy. So we had 900 jobs under one roof, and then of course there's the fear of, what about this factory where we have right across the street on 165th, Mayor? Do we have good news coming in regards to that?
We do have good news. I just can't disclose the company at this time because there's an announcement that will be forthcoming, but they don't want us to disclose their name at this time. However, the company did participate in the City of Hammond's job fair. What I like about this story a lot is that we met with, and we being Phil and I, and the rest of the economic development team met with this company in Illinois about 2 years prior to Lear relocating. And when we met with them, they told us they wanted to move to the city of Hammond, and so we were looking for potential spots for them. We knew that Lear was interested in relocating, and they looked at the building and they said that they fell in love with the building. They said it's perfect for operations. The problem is Lear was not moving for another 2 years. So basically, we were working with Alyra for them to expand to another area that's still within the 3rd district, but also working with this company as well. So one of the really good things that I like about this is a lot of times when we're working with companies, we really have to keep them engaged for the period of time until they're able to move here. But I have good news that in March, they closed on the building and they will be opening the doors in July, I believe. That's a $7 million investment with 150 jobs being created.
Love seeing companies locate to the 3rd district, so it makes me happy. So, Attorney Kantar, this is an economic development success story, but something that's near and dear to your heart. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about our favorite, well, I can't say that because I'm the mayor and there's a lot of breweries in our city, but one of our favorite downtown breweries, 18th Street, recently was recognized with an award from USA Today.
Correct. I was very excited. 18th Street had previously and still operates out of Miller, and I was familiar with the Miller location. And so when they told me in 2016 that they wanted to open a Hammond location, I was all on top of this. I was like very excited. Recently, USA Today, they always do a 10 best survey. You can go online right now, and there's 10 best, everything you could possibly think of. But the most recent was 10 best brew pub in America. This is the entire United States, and according to Drew Fox, who's the owner of 18th Street, there are 7,000 brew pubs in the United States and several hundred just in Indiana. And it was back and forth, 18th Street went from 1 to 2 to 3. And they were up against a place in Georgia, some place called Hopsticks, which I haven't been to yet. And there was one in Chicago, and they were vying for 1, 2, and 3. And it was online voting, and it was live, and you could see the results up until 5 days before the survey was to close. And the results were going to be released April 5th at 11 o'clock. And I was very pleased to find out that 18th Street came in #1 in the United States, #1 brew pub. And Drew is one of those guys, I don't know if anybody's ever met him, he's not one just to rest on his laurels. He had the place out in Miller, over off of Lake Street, and then he has this one, now he's working on a distillery, they have their own in-house smoker, they have the sour note for the sour brews across the street, and he's constantly working and developing, and the tourism that is coming down to that part of Hammond, which is formerly, it's in between the police station and the federal courthouse, so there wasn't a whole lot going on right there.
We love you though, Chief.
Yeah. The tourism, every time I go in there's people who ride their bikes there. You can see people with license plates from all over the United States. There was some people there last time I was there buying stickers because people who go to breweries collect stickers. The waitresses were running out of the flight holders for people who wanted to try a sample of the brews. And it's just a great development for the city of Hammond, and it's something we should all be proud of.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. That project was a dream. They came to us. They said, we want to buy this old abandoned building that nobody's interested in, and we're going to dump a bunch of money into it, and we're going to open a business in downtown Hammond. And we said, okay, you need incentives or something? They said, no, we're doing this all. We got cash on hand. We're doing it ourselves. And I tell you, I see a lot, and I've seen a lot over my years, and I hear a lot. And these guys, they never self-promote. They're just like, this is what we do. We just buy buildings and completely rejuvenate whole parts of cities. And I tell you, I'm very proud of them. Super cool story. And I tell you, they're making downtown Hammond cool, which I like a lot. So thank you very much, Chris. Let's go ahead. I want to pass off to Phil, and I know we have another question, but we have a big project going in the 5th District right now, which isn't very far from here. The ice skating rink going at the old Hammond FOP. If you haven't driven by that part of the city, I think the most striking thing is, holy cow, that thing's humongous, right? Phil?
It's big. This is one we're really proud of, and I hope as Hammond residents, you will be too when it's completed. This is, there's not a lot of hockey rinks in this area. The closest one is, a lot of people go to St. John, and then some people go to South Bend actually, and then of course Illinois has hockey rinks as well. So there's a desperate need for hockey rinks. This group that was putting this together talked to probably 5 other cities all around us, a lot of them south of us, and in the end, because we were the most creative and worked with them the best, they ended up in Hammond. And the reason I think we're going to be really excited about this, hockey is not a cheap sport. I don't know if a lot of you know that, But in Hammond, we have a sports voucher program. So if we have families that their income meets certain levels, you could use our sports voucher program, and your kids can try out hockey and see if they like it and see if it's something they want to get into. Where in the past, they probably never had that opportunity before. And I think that's going to be great for all of us, because hockey is a sport, whether you like the sport or not, it teaches you a lot of things about leadership and respect and teamwork and things of that nature. But the facility itself
Did you play hockey, Phil?
I never played hockey.
Really?
That's funny. Can you tell I regret that I never had an opportunity?
No, I just figured you played hockey the way you're talking about
I never did. But my son's going to. My 4-year-old son, I promise you, will be playing
Poor
hockey.
Carter, he has no idea.
I'll finish up just by saying the facility is it's about 120,000 square feet. It's 2 sheets of ice. There's also going to be a trampoline area, something similar to Sky Zone they have in Cherville at the old Menards. There's going to be something here as well, so that's something that could interest families.
Is that like a separate attraction altogether? So you can go into the trampoline side or you can go into the ice side?
Yeah, because hockey is not, you don't make a lot of revenue owning a hockey facility, so you've got to get creative and figure out other ways to bring in revenue, and so that's an additional way of doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Very excited. And it was really neat to see Purdue Northwest go out and hire a hockey coach. I mean, these guys are jumping in with both feet. Purdue Northwest, they plan to have hockey. I know Bishop Knowles got a hockey team. I know Munster's got a hockey team. Who knows? Maybe the new Hammond High has a hockey team one day. I mean, so we're real happy about that project. I think it's cool. It's going to fit really well in with Dowling Park, which is going gangbusters. Like every night, every day, we have games going over there. Softball, baseball, soccer. The tennis is going right now, men's and women's. It's very, very busy. Little known fact, Purdue Northwest rents those fields from the city of Hammond $350,000 a year, right? They've been doing that for how long now? Yeah, so I mean, we do pretty well. They help us pay the bills, and then Hammond residents basically use it for free. So it's a nice little deal. And Purdue Northwest also uses this for additional money on top of that. So anyway, I know I have another question, Donna.
You do. Last one, Mayor. Is the homebound program going to continue?
Oh, I have a feeling I know who asked this question. There's Councilman Dan Spitali. If I had to guess, has something to do with this. Because this is a program he's very proud of. Dan's a realtor on the side, and his number one cause with me whenever we talk is making sure that program's fully funded. We have 2 different sides to it. We fund it through community development. Do we still do it that way? Yes. And then we have Mayor's gaming portion that funds it. And the reason we do it from both sides is because on the community development side, it's income related. So you can participate in the program only if you meet certain parameters income-wise. And if you make too much, we used to say, sorry, you can't participate in this program. Then we figured out if I matched the same amount of money that the income side does, then I could bring in those people that just want to buy a house, and maybe they have too high of income to participate in the other program. So the long and the short of it is this program's been around for over a decade now. Dan, could you grab a microphone?
10 years.
10 years, Councilman? Thank you. I know, Councilman, was I correct in guessing it was your question?
No.
It wasn't your question?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I just totally called you out. I
I'll
apologize.
hand the
Okay. Do you want to add anything? Oh.
Africa, you had something to say? Go ahead.
I was going to say Andrea Lewis. I'm sorry, I'm putting her on the spot. She's the loan officer, and she handles the homebound program.
Hey. Was it your question? I was trying to guess questions. I apologize. I just assumed it was Spitali. Every time he sees me, he corners me on this. So,
Good
hi.
evening, everyone. Yes, I am in charge of the homebound program. We give down payment assistance, a minimum of $1,000 and a maximum of $2,500 to those who meet the income guidelines, and it does go by total household income. If you're a police officer, firefighter, teacher, you get $3,500. There's no income guidelines. And if you want to build new construction, there's $5,000 that you can receive, and there are no income guidelines there as well.
So if Donald Trump wants to move to Hammond, he can participate.
Oh, wow.
Even Donald Trump can participate.
Oh, wow.
Of course, he won't give us his tax return, so we wouldn't be able to. Sorry.
We do have plenty of money, so I don't think it'll be running out anytime soon. And
Okay.
we do have a lot of people we've been helping.
I see every redevelopment commission is usually about 5 people participate in the program, buying new houses.
Yes, from April of 2018 to March of this year, we've helped 87 people.
Awesome. That's 87 brand new homeowners and 87 homeowners in our city. That's outstanding. That's why we do it. So. That whole program came about is right after College Bound came in. Some of you probably heard this story before. I went to the Wheel. I have a good friend that works there, and she came up, and I knew she had kids, and I knew she'd been in Hammond forever. And I was like, "Hey, what do you think about the new program, College Bound?" And she's like, "Not a big deal for me." I said, "What do you mean? You have kids in school?" She said, "Mayor, I don't own my home. I can't participate in the program," and it devastated me. It was like the program was built for people like her, and I was like, "How the heck am I going to make it so that?" I don't want to say her name, could participate. And then we started thinking about it. Her rent was more than a typical mortgage payment. And I'm like, the only thing preventing her from getting into this home is that down payment. So we came up with Homebound, and it's worked amazingly. I love the program. I think it's great. And it's consistent. We've always been pushing home ownership. So anyway, I want to remind everybody, Election Day is coming up. I'm sure you probably realize that by now. It's projected to be a very low turnout, so I'm asking you to double down and make sure you and your family get out there and vote. I mean, it looks real bad for our city when we don't have a high participation rate. So I'm asking you to please go out. You have contested races in our city at large. You have contested races in the 3rd district and in the 6th district, and I know those council people are working hard to get your vote. And I know the challengers are out there knocking on doors and trying to work hard to get your vote, and it takes us 2 minutes. And you can vote anywhere. Right now, the early voting is open. In Hammond, you can vote there. You could be, if you're in Crown Point, you can vote at the courthouse in Crown Point. You could vote the Hammond ballot there. I do a radio show in Gary every 2 weeks. I could vote in Gary, my Hammond ballot. They're like super centers. So the bottom line is, just because I'm uncontested, which is wonderful, thank you very much, but just because we don't have a contested mayor's race doesn't mean you can check out. We have very important races with contested issues, and it's incumbent upon all of us to get out there and make your voice heard. So please, make sure you get out and make sure you and your family vote. And only because this gentleman's wearing a Cubs hat and shirt, I'm going to let him extend the meeting. How you doing, sir? How you doing, sir? I see you got the right gear on. Hi.
Yeah, you went into great detail about all your accomplishments.
Okay.
Swimming pools and all. But when we addressed our concerns, they seem to be glossed over.
What's that?
We have a house on the 7700 block of Catalpa.
Okay.
We've called the police about the drugs going on there. No response.
What is it? You're talking?
We have them on tape, on video.
Oh, you're talking about, is that the
Nothing's
one?
being done.
Is that the one that came earlier about drug dealing possibly going on at the house?
Yeah, but what can we do? We tell us to call the police, we call the police, nobody shows up.
But you don't, okay. Chief?
The chief is here, so.
Yeah. Could you address the crowd and then talk to him after also? So I want you to come and talk to the chief after, okay, sir? But we're going to address the crowd also.
That's not the 3rd district, by the way.
Okay. Thanks, Councilman. This is a big city, Councilman, okay?
We do have a very active narcotics unit. We're very busy. Last year, we served approximately 100 search warrants on houses in Hammond that were drug-related. We're always busy. We do take your calls. We take every complaint seriously. Every time I turn something over to narcotics, they're on it. They're doing it. If you're not getting the response you want, maybe they're out there and you don't see them. Maybe they're not seeing what you're seeing. That's possible. But if you give me the exact address, I'll make sure personally that narcotics gets it tomorrow, and we look into that exact address.
We follow up every piece of paperwork that comes in my office. If I'm not going to be the one that researches if there's a drug house in the 7700 block of Catalpa, but I would forward it to people that's their job to follow it up. And a lot of times, first off, we don't want to, show who asked the question at Mayor's Night and put all the cameras on the person on Go Hammond TV and say, "Oh, this is the guy that turned me into the cops." So we're sort of conscious of that also, that a lot of people do watch this show, okay? We're conscious of that, A, and B, there could be stuff happening right now on that very block, on that very house, and we don't want to talk about it publicly because, but it's a serious situation. I apologize if it seems like we glossed it over, sir. I was intimidated because when we started Mayor's Night Out, we had about 50 or 60 questions, and we'd be here till midnight if that was the case. So,
Mayor,
does anybody have any follow-up on that issue? About 7700 block of Catalpa, or crime tips? Okay. You want to? Hey, Jake, don't put the camera on him, please. Okay. 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 I appreciate it. And we're going to follow it up.
Mayor, before we go, I wanted to applaud your efforts on the development and my tenure being on the council on Kennedy Avenue. That was a vacant lot where Kennedy Park Apartments were. And I tell you, it's nothing but businesses and hotels there. And it's very nice. And you applause for that because it's economic development for our city. So
I appreciate
need
it.
to give you applause.
Thank you. I don't want to minimize what you're saying back there, okay? I don't want to minimize it at all. We're going to follow it up, I promise you, okay? And we're not putting the cameras on you because I don't need you to have any more problems than you have already. But these open forums that we have right now, you know, we do this so that we can hear problems like this. And give you a story, I'm on the radio every Friday, and I had a group of residents in the 1st District that started telling me about a problem in another part of the city that I don't live in, and I know that address off the top of my head now, and I've taken care of business. And I'm learning about your situation as we speak about it, and we're not blowing it off, and we're gonna do our jobs, I promise you, okay? And you can talk to people that live in that part of the city, and they'll tell you we're heroes for doing what they did, and I want to be your hero too. If that's the problem, and if that's the case, we're gonna take care of business, I promise you, okay? Because that's my job, that's why I'm here, okay? I don't want you to think I'm blowing you off. I apologize if it seemed like we were blowing the situation off. I appreciate the fact that you guys are all here. That's how it works, okay? So let us follow this up, and please talk to the chief after, and we'll follow this up, okay? I apologize. Yeah, Barry.
Sorry, I wanted to address this earlier, but I wanted to get my facts straight before I did. Somebody mentioned a house that needed to be repainted. There is a nonprofit organization, I just heard back from Legacy Foundation, and a nonprofit is called Rebuilding Together, and they give money for free home repairs and updates for low-income residents, seniors, and people with disabilities.
What's the name of it again, Barry?
Rebuilding Together.
Thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate it, Barry. So that's something we can follow up. Maybe we want to follow that up also. Thank you. What's that? College Bound update.
College Bound deadline.
Good.
School year for the college students winding down next couple of weeks. Don't forget College Bound application deadline July 5th. Turn all your applications in. High school seniors have until July 5th to get that application in also.
Thanks. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. So, thank you guys very much. The next Mayor's Night Out's in the 2nd District, May 22nd. It's going to be the hub of innovation in downtown Hammond on Homan Avenue, May 22nd, 2019 in the 2nd District. I promise we will be streaming live on Facebook then so that people can watch it. Thank you guys. Have a nice day.
Tours are available for the Sportsplex. If you want to